Welcome to Freebie Friday, everybody. This is episode 1, and today we will discuss what exactly this podcast is and our first episode topic, which is storytelling. All right, let's jump right in. First off, what is this podcast? This podcast, Freebie Friday, is brought to you by extradraft.com. It is a tips and tricks add-on for the multiple video courses that we have available on the site. On site, you will find the 5-draft method course. That one outlines novel writing. We also have a passive income and a work from home video course that will be available. That they will cover various writing styles and passive income opportunities and how to make them happen for you. So be sure to check those out. This podcast, though, what it is it'll be a weekly little add-on for one or more of those courses that I want to expand upon, or give you a little tip, a little trick, some fancy tidbit, or we may have guests on that want to expand on more of what they've done with the courses, and we will bring those to you here weekly. So we can look forward to all that. The first topic that I want to bring up to you that really isn't covered in all of the courses is storytelling. Storytelling envelops every type of writing that you can do, whether you're writing a novel, a script, an email campaign, web copy, whatever it is, there's going to be a story involved, or at least there should be, and I'm going to tell you exactly why today. First off, let's start with the novels and the movie scripts. Obviously, the whole point of those is to tell a story. So there's going to be a major style of storytelling that gets put into a novel or a screenplay that's drawn out over the course of that entire book. You have your different plots or your subplots or your character arcs and development, and the supporting characters and supporting cast and how they deal with things, and all these little stories kind of come together, and that it really makes sense when you think about it. Obviously, you're reading a story, you go to a movie, you watch a story, and that's what these things are about. But it's important to know that when you're sitting down to write a novel or to hash out a screenplay, what the main story is. How are you going to connect with the reader or the viewer? How are you going to put butts in seats in those theaters, or sell a book through Amazon or through Barnes and Noble or wherever you get your books, and have them open it and want to continue to read it? The biggest draw is going to be your story. Now, obviously, there are some aspects, that you read a book because you really like the character. If it's a repeating character, one that comes to mind off the top of my head, obviously, is Odd Thomas. Those were really great books. I love Dean Koontz. But some of the Odd Thomas books weren't as good as the other ones, but I read them cover to cover because I loved the character. But that is a really rare instance, and there have been several books that I have opened and put down right away, after the first couple chapters, because I wasn't into the story. And so it's very important that when you're writing the novel, that your story is the main draw. So you want to make sure that you have that fleshed out. Now in the course, obviously, we're going to go over all of that. But I just wanted to touch on that in this podcast there, because I didn't want to leave out, the 5-draft method in this inaugural podcast, if you will. But let's move on, because the more important thing here is for the others. For your copywriting out there, or you're ghostwriting, or if you're working on an email campaign, or whatever it is, if you're trying to get your website up and have visitors come and stay, or read the entire page so they can get to the Buy Me Now button at the bottom and actually click it. A lot of the things that are missing from these aspects are stories. And just like with a novel, you have to be able to connect with that viewer. And now, when you are writing a novel or a screenplay, you have a lot longer. In a typical novel, they usually give you about the first 15 to 20 pages to connect with your audience. In a movie, you get a good 5 to 10 minutes worth of movie to really draw them in and make them want to stay to see how this is going to turn out. On a web page or in an email, you have about 4 seconds. Okay, you have to have the catchy headline or the subject line. You have to have the first couple paragraphs in that really draw them in and make them want to continue to read. And the way that you do that is with a story. And you actually want to connect with your target audience based on that story. And if you've heard me talk about this before on some of the social media sites, the Facebook groups that I post in to help out in, or anything else like that, you may have heard me reference this before. And one topic I continuously go back to is one that I did a couple years ago, where I had a client come to me complaining that their web page wasn't producing enough turnover. They were getting a lot of visits a day, but they weren't getting the clicks. They weren't getting the buys. They weren't converting sales. And so they said, "What? Can you take a look at it? See what's wrong with it? Why are we getting, almost 4,000 visitors a day to this page, but not very many sales at all?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'll take a look at it." The first thing I noticed was that they had a lot of information, and that's great. You want to be able to tell everybody. And what they were selling on this page was a new style of dog collar. It was similar to those electric fences, the invisible fences, but it was a new take on that. And so it was a relatively new product, and people were interested in it. You could tell by the numbers, but they just weren't connecting with it enough to want to buy it. And the first thing after the information and everything that I noticed was that these guys had no way to connect with their target audience. And obviously, in this situation, your target audience is going to be people that own a dog or are thinking about owning a dog. And there are several ways that you can connect with them, especially if you do own a dog or you run a business selling things for people that own a dog. You should be able to connect with this audience very easily. And what they were lacking on their page was a story. And when I say a story, I'm not talking about, not going to have to scroll through 27 paragraphs. I mean, this can be something that's done as simple as 2 sentences up to a couple paragraphs, maybe its own little section at the very top of the page. It comes in a form where the reader or the visitor to the page glances over it and then they connect. They mentally connect with what's going on that web page or in that email. They can identify with you. You're identifying with them. There's that connection. It builds automatic, instantaneous trust. And that is the most important thing. They're not going to buy from you if they don't trust you. So all I did was I relayed their page. I took out some of the more detailed information off of the page. I made the page shorter, easier to read. You have the copywriting tricks, 2 sentences per paragraph, split them up, add a lot of subheadings, pictures, things like that. And most of that they already had. but I took out some of the detailed work, and in its place, at the very top of the page, I added a story that had happened to me when I was a kid, when my dog got out of the front door and ran through the yard, down the driveway, into the road, turned the corner, and got hit by a car. And right away, you can tell that if you are a dog owner, this is a big fear, especially if you don't have a fenced-in front yard. You don't obviously want your dog to be hit by a car. So my story gained two types of visitors. It gained the type that were there because they were scared that their dog was going to get away or get outside of the boundary. And then I confirmed that through my story, that the worst possible thing that could happen actually happened. And that triggers the empathy and sympathy response in the visitor. So not only have I now connected with two different types of people, I have the ones that are on my side. They've connected with me. They trust me now more because they sympathize with what I have gone through. Maybe they have had a similar instance, or they get a new puppy because their old dog has passed away. Maybe it didn't even have to get hit by a car, but the losing of a pet is a very profound emotional disturbance, just like losing a kid or a parent. And so you connect with those people that way. Or you have first-time pet owners that are scared that it's going to happen. And then they come in, they read this little story. It took up 3 paragraphs, I think it was. Maybe a total like 8 or 9 lines to tell my little tale. But the point of it was, you're either scared this is going to happen, or it has happened and you can sympathize with that it happened to me. And we have that instant connection now through these words on the page right at the very beginning. And you're going to read the rest of it. You're already there. Now you're scared it's going to happen to your pet, or it has happened and you want to see if there's something that you can do to prevent it from happening again. And just by doing that, by adding that story to their webpage, within 2 weeks, their sales increased 14% in 2 weeks, just from adding a story, because that's all we had to do was connect with the audience. And that is what a story does. So whether you're writing a novel, you're writing a screenplay, maybe you're writing a TV episode, or you're doing, a transcript for a video, or if you're doing copywriting, ghostwriting, you write a long form article, a sales page, whatever it is, find a way to connect with the target audience through a story to gain that instant trust, whether it be through fear, sympathy, empathy. Tell your story and they will stick around. And if you tell it well enough and they connect with you and they trust you, they're going to make it to the bottom of the page and they're going to click the button. All right, guys, that is going to do it for the first episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, we will have a totally different topic and we will go into more detail. I'm not going to spoil what that is now, but if you go to extradraft.com, you can sign up for the Freebie Friday newsletter. You can also join the Freebie Friday course, which is just these podcasts in one spot. It is free. Or you can go through iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, your favorite podcast search engine. You can find the podcast there. Otherwise, if you do sign up for the newsletter, you will get a heads up about what the next episodes are going to be. If you join the course, you will get it a day early. Otherwise, I will see you next Friday.